We all just try to be heard, try to make our mark in this world. So
hello, everybody. That's Carly Ozard singing Carry On. Her free song that she's offering right now on her website, carlyozard.com, CarlyOzard. One of my best friends and an amazing singer and performer and comedian. Super talented. Check it out, carlyozard.com. Hey, how y'all doing today? Hope you're doing well out there. This is Ray Renati, your host of this podcast, Green Room on Air. It's all mine. Boy, oh boy. It's been snowing in my neighborhood. Well, not really. A half hour away in the Santa Cruz Mountains, which almost never happens. It's happened maybe 3 or 4 times that I can remember in my lifetime. And this time might be the most snow up there ever. Although I think in 1978, it snowed quite a bit. And in 1962, a few months after I was born, it snowed like 3 feet. But we got 1 foot of snow a half hour from my house. But I'm not going to tell you where I live, because I don't want people like rushing the front door here, given my celebrity status and all.
Great.
But yeah, I went up there. My wife went up one day, the day after it snowed, and it was perfectly sunny and warm, and she built a snowman, and we got videos of her playing in the snow, just like a little wee child. And I went with a friend of mine to San Jose and took some pictures, and I took some photos of the mountains, Santa Cruz Mountains, and it looked like I was taking pictures of the Sierras, which was hilarious. So the next day I woke up early and I drove up there, and man, it was windy and raining and freezing, and there was still snow. Most of it had melted near the parking lot of Montebello Ridge, which is a county park near the top of the mountain. But yeah, I went out there and I went hiking. Thank God I had gloves. It was freezing. I went for about 4 miles. I was going to go further, but I was afraid. Like, man, I didn't bring any food. If I hurt myself, I'm going to freeze to death. So I stopped and turned around. But I went up to the top, almost to the top, and there was a lot of snow up there. I could have skied. Literally, there was a hill I could have skied down if I had brought my skis. Incredible. It's like a once-in-a-lifetime situation. That's right. Man, I hope our drought goes away. God, we've been in a drought since I can remember. Practically my whole life. I think since about 78 or so. I can't remember not being in a drought. Incredible. Now, if this doesn't take care of it, nothing's gonna. Because this we've had a lot of rain and a lot of snow, and it's raining again. God doesn't make those little green apples. No, wait. No, that's not the right song. What's the raindrops keep falling on my head, but that doesn't mean my eyes will soon be turning red. Crying's not for me, 'cause I'll never stop. No, I'm never gonna stop the rain by complaining, because I'm free. Nothing's worrying me. Thank you very much. I'll be here all week. Anyway, that's enough of that. Let's get to talking about my guest, who will be here in a moment. In today's episode, we're excited to have the talented San Francisco Bay Area actor Cassidy Brown as our guest. Cassidy has acted in the top theaters all over the Bay Area, including Berkeley Rep, Theatreworks, SF Playhouse, and many others. He's currently in the midst of rehearsing a new play called Tea Party in San Francisco, which is being directed by the director, Erin Merritt. She's doing this in a very unique and inspiring way, and we'll hear all about that. Additionally, Cassidy co-hosts a podcast called All the Answers with his good friend Katie Rubin, where they discuss theater and life. Check it out if you're interested in exploring the intersection of theater and spirituality. Now, folks, sit back, relax, but if you're driving, don't relax, concentrate, and enjoy the conversation as we go behind the scenes with Cassidy Brown. So you have this new show you're doing called Tea Party?
I do. Let's jump right into it. Absolutely.
Let's hear about it.
Okay. Well, we're doing this show. It's quite a story sort of behind the show, but the show itself is actually the most interesting part. Erin Merritt, the director, has been championing this show for over 10 years. It was a show that was written quite a while ago. But what happened was people, when it was first written, thought, oh, this is science fiction. This is crazy. This isn't reality. And it's about sort of the political divide and the sort of political violence and sectarian violence and how we divide ourselves into like progressive and conservative or whatever. And that can lead to some pretty scary outcomes. But back when it was written, it was around when the Tea Party was a happening thing. So it's called Tea Party.
Okay.
But it actually doesn't make any direct references to those exact moments. It took a theorized what if things went a certain way, could this end up happening, looking more like a civil war or something like that. And it has literally only become increasingly more relevant and less outlandish, the things that happen in this play. So here we are now, and I think it was written well over 10 years ago, and it feels less crazy than it ever did before. So you think when someone wrote it, they're like, oh, they wrote this because of January 6th. No, he wrote it a long time ago. He saw it coming already, where things were going. So, yeah.
Well, I think there's a direct connection, it seems, to that possibly. To the actual Tea Party time and what we have now with MAGA.
Absolutely. That's set up the shift in energy from being like more Reagan pseudo-reasonable, oh, we're conservative for these reasons, to a more just like, no, we want power and we want to believe in our tribe and we want to do what we want to do at the cost of everything else.
Can you tell me about the rest of the cast?
We have a great cast of Bay Area folks. The way this show came together was kind of interesting because, one of the sort of background stories is that Erin, the director, she's, I'm just going to say it, she's suffering from ALS and is sort of speeded up her own personal timeline of wanting to get something produced because at some point she will no longer be able to direct. So she sort of pushed it a little harder and gathered some people together, and a bunch of people gathered and raised money to put on the show. So we have sort of an ad hoc production company. And in fact, this is what, for the equity actors in the cast, this is what's called a member production code, which means we are all producers.
Oh, great.
So because of that, though, because we're doing it as a labor of love, we were really able to gather whoever we wanted, whoever was available, and whoever Erin really wanted to work with.
Yeah.
So there's a really great dynamic group of people come together for it. I know I will leave a name out if I don't look very carefully to remind myself of who's in it.
Well, I have it here, but I just...
No, that's fine. I'm in it, obviously.
Yeah.
I play two significant roles in the show, and first half of the show, I'm one character. The second half, I'm a completely different character.
Oh, that's fun.
So that's a lot of fun. I love that. Anthony Sestaro, who's this fantastic guy with a very storied television and theater career, who I've never worked with. And we've actually been working on Zoom for the first part of rehearsal because he was in Canada. So we're making everything work as best we can. And I'm loving how it's coming together in that way.
Great.
Olivia Gomez DeMarchi. Mm-hmm. I need to get that right.
You never call people by their last name, so.
Right. It's easy. Exactly. Olivia is a wonderful actor who I've known for, I've known a lot of the people involved with this show for so long, and I love that too.
Yeah.
Bob Green, who I've known for probably 15, 20 years.
Yeah, right.
Working at the Willows Theater with him a long time ago.
Yeah.
Luel Senores, who I only met during pandemic, working on a quickfire monologue project that I was doing where people were recording monologues on Zoom and performing them. So Luel was in that. Isabel Torres, aka Isabel Toe, who I had never met before this show, and she's fantastic, a young actor that I just think the world of. And then who am I forgetting in there? I think that's it. Anthony, Olivia, Bob, Luel, Cassidy, and then we even our understudies are all stars. Ryan Tasker is my understudy and sort of alternate. He'll be doing a few of the shows. Again, old friend who I've known for 100 years, and working with him has been a blast. And then our assistant director and other understudy is Alicia M.P. Nelson.
Okay, great.
So, yeah, it's a great group of folk, and then a bunch of great, local designers. Again, it's because of the nature of the show and people coming together with the labor of love. I think a lot of people made themselves available to get to do this.
Yeah.
Dave Mayer's doing the fights. Tammy Berlin's doing the costumes. Greg Sharpen sound. Kate Boyd is our lighting designer. Yeah. Devin LaBelle, scenic and props. It's just a great group of people.
Man, Dave Mayer's been doing fight choreography since I can remember.
Yeah, he's been the go-to guy for a long time. I've known him from back in my shotgun days, working with him ever so long ago.
I think Livia used to do shots with us.
Yep, that would make sense. I'm sure Livia's been in shots at some point.
Yeah.
Quite a bit. I know she understudied at SF Shakes when I did it like 12, 13 years ago. Yeah. So.
Yeah, great. And is it mostly a comedy, Tea Party?
It is more of I would call it more of like a taut political thriller.
Okay.
With a lot of humor in it, but the humor is not like comedy, like wackadoo. It's more like the comedy of absurdity and how oh my God, I can't believe that they said that or acted like that.
Yeah.
If that makes
great.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I find it interesting. I wouldn't bill it as a comedy per se. It is definitely funny. It's got funniness in it, but it's that funny, oh God, I don't necessarily know if I want to laugh at that.
What was this play? It was at ACT. It was about President of the United States. I can't remember.
It was. I think it was written by David Mamet. Right?
Yes. Did you see that?
Yeah. I did not get to see that.
It sounds sort of similar. I'm wondering. Yeah. So you guys are opening on March 4th. Is that correct?
March 4th. Yeah, that is pretty darn. I think we have a preview on the 2nd. I think we open on the 3rd. Yeah, at the Strand Theater in their upstairs theater, the Roof. That's their big black box upstairs at the Strand in San Francisco.
I didn't know they had one up there.
Yeah, it's like a secret room up at the top of the stairs.
Is it like 40 seats or?
No, it's bigger than that. I think it's close. It's around under 100 seats, but somewhere. Yeah.
But it's not the regular Strand Theater.
No, it's not just the straight. It's in fact, we're doing this in sort of a modified thrust, if anything, or a U shape, a horseshoe. Audience will be in a horseshoe around us.
Oh, it's my favorite.
Yeah. It's so 3 sides of having to act to 3 sides.
Kind of like San Jose Stage.
Yeah, or I would say more shape-wise, more like the Aurora Theater.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
So it's rectangular.
Oh, I
think we're going rectangle and like really thrusting into that rectangle.
I see.
So
that's a challenge.
On 3 sides, yeah.
That's a directorial challenge.
It is. I think it's just a way of getting more people in the space.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's always rough because you gotta tell the story to everybody. You got to make sure everybody's always getting something.
Exactly. And the challenge of the central set piece throughout much of the play is a table. that gets rotated at different angles. There's a lot of sitting at tables. And the problem with sitting at tables is it freezes you. Yeah. So like really, how do you keep that open and available to the audience?
Yeah. It's always interesting. I just saw the show over at San Jose Stage about Louis Armstrong.
Mm-hmm. Satchmo at the Waldorf.
Yeah, Satchmo at the Waldorf. It was great. But and I absolutely love what they did, but I was thinking just, in theater. So here's Louis Armstrong backstage in his dressing room with emphysema or whatever he has. And, but he's never stops moving, which you got to do it. I mean, you can't have him sit in one place, and it's not distracting or anything, but I was thinking like in real life, like there's no way that he'd be like walking around like that.
He just sits down and be exhausted. Yeah. I think only one performer got away with it. What's his name? The Monster in a Box, that one man playwright. He used to just sit at a table. I guess Mike Daisy did that a lot too.
Yeah, I mean, there are people who do it
and read their play, and they do it to a huge major theater, but they're still just sitting in one place talking and reading.
Yeah, who's the guy that used to do that? Swimming to Cambodia, or
that's the guy I'm trying to think of.
But like, he has such an engaging his just his voice. His
Spalding Gray. There's
Spalding Gray. Like when you're somebody who has this like such an incredible, like your main thing is your voice. And that's enough to just pull people in. I feel like, like someone like him can do that.
Yeah, you can get away with it.
Yeah. Because he had that amazing command of the language.
Yeah. Well, and we even ran into that last night where the script really calls for my character in the second act, where I actually have a cane for a part of it.
A cane?
A cane.
Oh, okay.
So, so I have a limp and a cane. And so it has me sitting down a lot.
I see.
And Erin was just like, nope, you're too amped up. You can't sit down. I was like, but I have a cane.
But I can't walk.
Also, we can't have you just sitting there because it'll just destroy the scene. You got to move around.
Especially in a staging like that.
Yeah.
So what are the two roles that you're playing?
So I'm playing the agent. Most of the characters are named more after their function than after their own name, except for at the very end. And that's a key point. Everyone is sort of an archetype of themselves, or a cipher that really holds the truth of that type. So I'm agent, like a government agent.
Okay.
Doesn't say for what agency. And in the second half, I'm a journalist, a European journalist, which means I had to learn a Dutch accent, which is not easy.
No.
But, fun challenge. Loving that. So, yeah, I'm agent and journalist. And hopefully people will know the difference, when they see the play, that I'm not the same guy.
You're cute.
I'm not doing it's not like 39 steps where you change a wig and a mustache and a hat. It's subtler than that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I remember seeing you in that at Theatreworks.
Right.
Like 10 years ago or something.
10 years ago. And then again, right before the pandemic.
I didn't see that time.
We did it 10 years apart at that same theater. Yeah.
Yeah. That looks like a fun play.
It's
a lot of work.
A lot of work.
Yeah. Physical.
For everybody. Designers, the costume designer is insane. Everybody has to be crazy to do that.
You like playing two characters like that? I'm sure you do.
Oh, I mean, I love the super multi stuff the best, like the wacky quick change stuff, like 39 Steps or shows of that ilk are my jam. It's actually strangely harder to just play two realistic characters.
Yeah.
Because then I can't just rely on a thick Scottish brogue to say this is a different character.
Right.
I have to be more subtle with my shifts and just have, be a real actor and actually show.
What are the plays where they have the two actors and it was like a franchise and they go behind it? It's like a radio station, like what's it?
Greater Tuna.
Yeah, all the tuna plays.
Yeah, there's the Greater Tuna stuff. There's what is it called? The more classic one that they've made into movies. Can't think what it's called. Irma Vep. There we go.
Oh yeah, Irma Vep. Yeah,
Irma Vep. They do it. I think Stones in His Pockets is another quick change two player. Yeah,
I'm always amazed by those those quick change plays like that. And then I directed one because I was like, how are they doing this? And then I had to direct one. It was Paula Vogel's, Baltimore Waltz.
Oh, I don't know. That was a multi.
Yeah, there's like 35 scenes and it's all these different characters.
Oh, okay. Underdressing, overdressing. Well, you know where you learn to do that is a good children's theater tour.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I used to work for the Traveling Lantern Theater Company, and I went on tour, and then I directed a bunch. And you just learn, like, what's the quickest way to hang this on the back of a door so you can grab it as you're walking by, throw it over your head, put the other hat down, but in a place that you can grab it later when you come back for the quick change again, because there's no crew, and it's just...
Yeah. Is that the San Jose Rep group?
No, that's Red Ladder, I think.
Oh, Red Ladder.
No, this was one that just toured all over the country. 2 people in a van, multiple iterations of 2 people, a van, and you're set in costumes in the back of the van. You drive all over the country and you just set up at a school and you do the show, and then you drive to another school in another town and you do that show in the afternoon, and then you drive to the next town and you get a hotel. Like, it's just
cool.
It's churning it out. But great training ground for all when you have to do that professionally later on.
Sure. Yeah. I just did a play with 2 characters. I was over at Ohlone College. I did like a guest thing there. And they did Frankenstein.
Oh, right.
The one from London, the National Theatre in London.
The one that was with like Johnny Lee Miller and Engelbert Humperdinck.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah, that's the one.
Engelbert Humperdinck. I know, it took me forever to get his name. I used to never be able to say it. That's such a cool script.
And I think that was one that they did, what's it called? True West style, which the 2 actors who made it, where they would perform it on alternate nights as the alternate role. They kept switching the roles back and forth. Yeah.
I've seen both of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's so cool to see how they did everything in their own way. You know, it's a different show. Completely.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. But I got to play the old blind guy, DeLacy, who teaches him how to read. And like he becomes like a son to him, and then he kills my family and me. And then I was Ewan, the fisherman who digs up the bodies for Frankenstein.
Nice.
That was fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I love a good multi-character.
So you have a podcast also.
I do. I have a podcast that's sort of about comedy and spirituality. It's called All the Answers with Katie Rubin, who is a spiritual healer and stand-up comedian and improviser and actor that I've worked with for, again, years and years and years. And Katie and I have been doing this podcast since right before pandemic started. We started it right at the end of 2019 and have been going. Got, 150 episodes out, something like that at this point.
I was just listening to the latest one earlier.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
She's funny.
She is very funny. We get on there, we talk rudely, we make dirty jokes, and then we get all super spiritual and read somebody's records or ask the guides to help them with a problem, whatever.
Oh, cool. I didn't get to that part yet. I'll have to keep listening.
We don't always do that, but that's sort of the focus of the show. But if nothing else, we get deeply philosophical about the meaning of life in most episodes.
Right on.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy? I would like to do this with someone myself, honestly. I started this years ago, but I was part of a group called Wave Radio, and we had a lot of listeners because we had people from all walks of life, and we had like 1 or 2 episodes a day, and it was just tons of content. It was super interesting. I had a ton of people. And then the guy dumped it. Like he was afraid of copyright laws and stuff with some music. I thought he was overreacting, but then I found out in England, they actually like jail people for that stuff. So,
oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I just kept going, but then I lost almost everybody,
Yeah, it's hard to keep it going because there isn't money in it until you get to a certain size and start to get any kind of underwriting. So you just got to do it as a labor of love. That's what we've been doing. We have a certain amount of followers, but we're not enough to get to that next level yet. And we are lucky enough to have a producer / editor who took us on at the very beginning, and he loves the show. So he does our publishing. He edits our episodes and puts the music on. And, we invested a little bit at the beginning in like paying for someone to write and produce a theme song for us. And that was, so that helps to give us a little bit of credibility and stuff like that. But lucky to have a person who will take our technical stuff and run with it. So all we have to do is show up and record.
Oh yeah, it's so time consuming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been doing it myself, and I had to take before you. I took quite a long break because I just needed a rest from the whole thing. I love doing this part, but when you have to get down and start editing everything, and then it's hours and hours of work, especially if you don't do it all the time, like some of these people do. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's the nature of the beast, I guess.
So how did you become an actor? Like, when did you start, and did you go to school or?
Yeah. Well, the short version is, when you're a kid and you're thinking about that idea first appears to you of like, what do you want to be when you grow up? You're like an astronaut or a fireman or a ballerina or whatever it is. I never had another thought besides, I want to be an actor, even though I didn't really know what that entailed or meant. But I also never really thought like, I'm going to be an actor on Broadway or in movies. I just was like, I don't know, I want to be an actor. So, went to undergrad, Sonoma State, majored in theater there, had some good teachers, went straight to grad school in Kansas City because that's where I got in randomly to an MFA program, and got my MFA and ended up coming back here after a couple of years and just started hacking away at the idea. And it actually was a surprise when I found at a certain point that that's mostly what I was doing, was acting. Even though that's what I'd planned on the whole time, I'd always assumed I would kind of piddle away at it until I gave it up and then went and became a high school teacher or something. Like that was a fallback. Like that's not a huge major undertaking in and of itself. I wasn't really well informed when I had that thought. But, I had the luck of having some good, people take me on at a certain time. Rich Elliott at the Willows. I was working there as a sort of education, and they got into casting there.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
Yeah, which is a great education as an actor to work in casting, if nothing else, because you just sit through tons of auditions and you start to understand that process a little better and like how arbitrary and impersonal it is, meaning don't take it personally when you don't get it, because it has very little to do with you.
Oh, I know. It took me a while to learn that, but especially in the Bay Area, I mean, it's such a, how can I say this in a way that's not, I don't want to make this sound negative. There's a lot, people develop deep friendships with people.
People work with who they know.
Yeah. And I notice it like, yeah. I mean, I've noticed so many things like since I've been like even since I joined Equity many years ago, I noticed it's actually better to live in the East Bay or San Francisco, just because you're tied in more with like more of the people that are doing the stuff.
Right. It is very much, it's not just who you know, which they often will say, oh, it's only who you know.
No, of course not.
Just so you know. You got to be someone people want to work with.
Yeah.
But then you also need to have those relationships. If I just go and randomly audition at Theatreworks, that may or may not make an impression. Sometimes it will, but it's
once in a while.
That secondary relationship that you've created through some other process or through some other project.
Exactly. Yeah. I think, and I think like you just said, if you just go randomly audition at Theatreworks, you have to be somebody, usually you have to be somebody who's so perfect for that role that right. they have to cast you.
Right. And there's no other person like you.
Yes. Yeah.
And, you and I are both like white guys of a certain age that have a certain look and a certain type, and that's who we are. So we have to, that's great. And there's plenty of roles for that. Like, let's not lie. That's really what most roles are written for. But then how do we stand out from that positioning?
Well, I have to tell you, though, I've recently moved into the old man category, And that's happened over the last few years. It kind of happened kind of abruptly during COVID. And that is different. I think you're like where I was a while ago. And yeah, absolutely. I worked all the time. Now, old man stuff ain't the same. You'll see.
It's funny because I'm actually kind of looking forward to that next chunk because I'm in a spot right now that's almost in the middler spot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot harder. Like women have two positions. It's under 30 and over 55. And
right.
Like anything in between just doesn't exist, which has got to be maddening.
Yeah, that sucks.
Our window's a little narrower. So I would almost like, I mean, I haven't experienced it yet, but I kind of want to get into the older man category.
Oh, I think, yeah.
Right now I'm in that tween where it's like, you're not quite I need young dad or I need old grizzled guy.
Yeah. I remember Willows. I think that's where I first knew you from after you mentioned that. Yeah, because I used to audition there a lot. I did a couple shows there. I really liked that place. Too bad
it was just
they went down
place.
the
they
tubes.
Just couldn't quite keep it going.
They were doing great for a while.
They were. They had a couple of perfect storms of the economic downturns, like in 2008. When that hit, it just messed. Their timing was perfectly wrong for certain things. They expanded right before that in a way that they couldn't sustain the split, but then the split had already happened, so then they couldn't keep going. It was a perfect storm of bad decisions that weren't bad decisions.
Yeah, it opened like 2 other locations, and then we had the crash. Yeah, right after that. Yeah,
and they lost all their funding for a lot of things. They lost their lease with the city, and it was unfortunate. That place was very important to my early career here in the Bay Area.
Did you ever work in New York or LA?
Not really. No. I mean, I've worked in like Sacramento and Carmel and, the greater Bay Area, but I haven't really worked much beyond that.
How did you decide to come to the San Francisco area as an actor?
Born in Oakland, but I didn't grow up here, but I spent a lot of my growing up years here. And then my folks actually were living out here. And so I had and my family was still here. So when I finished in Kansas City, came back here for a minute. And then I went to New Mexico for a minute because that's where I had actually grown up. And I moved there with a girlfriend. And then when we split up, I was like, I guess I'm going back to California. I never really had the gumption to try New York or LA. And it felt like gumption. I should have. I kind of regret that. But then I started to just slowly build a decent enough career here in the Bay Area. It kind of chipped away at it, with working in education and in casting and doing a lot of shows at a few theaters. And then at some point about, 15 years ago, maybe, 13. Yeah, 15 years ago or so, I sort of took the leap, joined the union, quit my comfortable job that was limiting what I could do anywhere else, and then just sort of dove in and hoped for the best. And I have been up until like 2019, I was pretty solidly doing it. I was working. I would say I was one of the, you look at things as, I always think of it as like concentric rings on like a merry-go-round. And you have the people in the center of the merry-go-round are the company members at a theater who are always just no problem. They're always working and they're always there. And you have a few rings out of people who work pretty consistently, maybe not all the time. And I always felt like I was one of the guys, I was on that merry-go-round, but I was kind of holding on to the edges of it and my feet were kind of flying out, but I was still on that merry-go-round because I know there are people who would look at me and go, what are you kidding? You work all the time.
Yeah, I do. I look at you that way.
Right.
I think it's
great.
At
someone else and I go, that person works all the time. They work
you
way
can
more
always,
than I
that's
do.
the problem in entertainment. You can always compare yourself to other people and say what's
really
better
hard.
and what isn't. It's like a big trap you don't want to get into.
Now, that being said, it's been a little challenging. I have not been able to restart that much since things started to slowly reopen. I won't say post-COVID. We aren't there yet. But, in this moment where things are happening again. But this will be the first show I've done since, basically. And I'm really grateful to the process. I'm really enjoying the process itself. It's a joy. It's good medicine. I got to say, Ray, I go to rehearsal like something's gone wrong that day. I've had a bad day. I was stressed out about something really went wrong. Run through the scene one time, and I'm like, I'm good.
Especially if I guess it's a really well-written play.
It's a well-written play.
Yeah. And you like the people you work.
I love the people I'm working with, and I don't say that lightly, because that is not a given. We have a good time at rehearsal. We have our challenges are like, Erin can no longer speak, for example, as a director. I know but like, I say this not to wallow in any kind of like tragedy story. It's just more like, oh, well, that's another piece of the puzzle, right? Like, because we could have this whole other story about, this story of this director who's doing this thing, and it's her, and she's suffering. No, that's not the story. The story is we show up to rehearsal. Erin's like, what I'm doing, I'm on a podcast, so
yeah.
Gestures like, let's do it again. And then she has Alicia, her assistant director, leaning over and reading her notes out loud for her.
Oh,
so
great.
Like, having a conversation, kind of like, if you were working with a deaf director who needed an interpreter. It's it's just a factor, and that's all it is. And it's so, but because of that, there's a lot more like attention and focus in the group. We're very attentive to each other more than we would be often. We're not just messing around. Oh, whatever. We're like, we got to focus. We got to be kind with our focus and with each other, and patient. But also that means the director has a lot of trust for the actors, because she can't control us as well as some directors might, interrupting and saying, okay, let's do that again. She has to be thoughtful about, what do I want to waste time on typing right now? So it's just the perfect thought. And boy, it's great. I think it's going to create a very good show. They say the first thing you've got to do in a play is casting, right? The best, surround yourself with the right people, and then let them do all the work.
Oh yeah, for sure. Gosh, it's like 70%, I'd say.
It really is. And then just hopefully everybody is and
it's not necessarily saying like because they're talent. No, it's more just like you want to make sure you have the right mix of the people that are going to fit like the story
exactly
in the way you want to tell it,
and who's just to get more
and
like
work ethic
about it. Yeah. And also just vibe off each other.
For sure.
Like there might be someone who's a super talented actor, and it's great to work with another actor. But if I get on stage with them, we just kind of go, blah, just run into each other, stumble on each other.
I cast, I won't say what play or anything, whatever, but I cast this guy once. His audition was incredible. And this is like only my third play directing or something. So I didn't really have this yet. And I'm like, I got to cast him. But I didn't look at the warning signs during the audition,
Yep.
And when I look back, I'm like, it was all there. You got to pay attention.
You got to trust. But sometimes you're like, but they're so perfect for this role. But then you realize the reason they're perfect for this nut job role is a nut job.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Gosh. Yeah. Yeah, I had that. I mean, I was like one of those company members. Like, I had started a theater with some people like 20 years ago, and I was doing like most of my work there, and then that fell away for various reasons. And now and then also I was doing a lot of like 42nd Street Moon because I had a good relationship with Greg, and then he left, and so now I'm one of those people who are trying to. God, sometimes at my age, I'm like, I'm 61 years old now. I'm like, what am I doing? But have you ever like written anything? Have you ever written a play?
I keep, that is a question that comes up a lot, and I have not found haven't found my voice in that way yet. Like, even as a director, I've only started directing again recently. I directed the 39 Steps last summer because I had done 5 other productions of that play. It was finally time for me to direct it because I know it. And I had a blast doing it. But like, even finding the right vehicle for my voice is a challenge, I realize. And so like, everyone's always saying, you got to write, you got to write, you got to write. And I'm like, what do I write? I don't know what to write. I don't have anything to say. I like saying other people's words. Or even as a director, I would often be what I would call a show doctor. Like, you do the hard work. Let me come in and make it good. Like, I'll come in and make the scenes funny, or I'll work the comic timing, but you got to do the grunt work of just putting the show together. Like, that's not and that's what I think of writing. To me, feels like grunt work.
Yeah. It is hard. It is hard. I have a great grand uncle who tried to become a famous singer in New York from Italy, and he feels like he never made it. And he wrote this memoir, and I went to Italy and got it in the library a couple of years ago in Florence, and I scanned it, and I'm almost done translating it, and I'm gonna write like a one-man show of this guy. There's plenty of material there to work on, so
nice.
I'm looking forward to that.
If you have the inspiration, it would be a great thing to be able to do.
You have to have the inspiration, because you said,
it's a lot of the drive for it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to say, one of the reasons I'm enjoying this show is I have certain like secret giddy fantasies. So it's like, if I wrote a play, if I wrote something for myself, what would I do? And I'd always thought that I would do like a noir or something, because I've always wanted to play like a detective or something, just because that's a giddy fantasy that no one ever cast me as.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I'm actually getting to do that in this play. So I get to be an agent. I get to be Jack Bauer, 24 energy of like questioning a suspect and things like that. And that's just giddy, goofy ball fun for me. But I think probably if I could write, I would write like a good heist or caper type story, because I don't think there's very many in theater.
No.
Like clever twist heists, old David Mamet style stuff, like The Spanish Prisoner or something like that, or Hustle, heist, con men. It's more con than I'm talking about. There's a lot of movies, but not a lot of plays.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
But that takes also an incredibly brilliant mind. You need someone who sees things in the incredible way. You need a Chris Chen to write a really good whodunit.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what's his name? Oh my God, my brain. Watson.
The
Sherlock
Watson.
Holmes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, of the Sherlock Holmes. Right. And there are Sherlock Holmes plays, but that's more, it's not so much of the secret reveal. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So how did Erin find all you guys? How did she cast the show?
I think she did about probably 60% of it was her casting people that she just knew and wanted to work with. She reached out to me. I've known Erin since 1998, maybe something like that. And she has even deeper roots than that in the Bay Area. So she's known a lot of these people for 30 years, I think she's known Bob about that long, if not about as long as me, if not longer. Bob Green. So she, I think, and she'd done some readings of this play before. I had done a reading in 2019. I think Bob's been in a couple of them. Anthony Sestaro has been in 2 of them, but not the one I did in 2019. So she's done 3 different like developmental readings of this play. So she had the people who'd done that. But then it gets more specific in terms of like who you need to have more specific. There's some characters at the end. There's a scene, an international scene where you have a Brazilian woman, a Chinese guy, a Russian guy. Mm-hmm. So you have to be a little more like hone in on what you're looking for those folks. Livia happens to actually be Brazilian. And I think she had done a reading of it prior to. I think she and I were in the reading together. So a lot of it was just bringing those people together. We still auditioned, but more from the point of view of like, is this going to work? I think it's going to work. Yes, this will work. And actually, I was supposed to play just the journalist in another role, but then somebody's availability changed. So she ended up giving me a larger 2 roles to cover for that while she found the person to cover the more specific role, like things like that. Just like that's how theater is,
No, I know. Yeah.
You go really careful about it. And then at the last minute you go, oops, but also this, and then move this over here, chessboard. There, that'll work.
I know. So now this is a world premiere, right? It's never been done a full production. And is the writer involved?
He hasn't been involved with our production, Gordon Dahlquist, but he's an old friend of Erin's. They also went to school together. And so, that's one of the reasons he's been championing this show. He'll be here for opening and stuff, but he hasn't been, like attending rehearsals or making rewrites or anything. The show's pretty well baked. We might have requested like 1 or 2 tiny word changes. And that's it. And those were approved, of course, because, it's not precious. But we still requested them because you got to do what they send you. That's the rule. And Gordon Dahlquist, it is the first time the show has ever actually been fully produced. So it is a world premiere.
And so people can just go to, how do people find tickets? I can put it in the notes, but...
That's true, fine. But the easiest way to find tickets, I think, is just go to Eventbrite and search for Tea Party or Tea Party at the Strand. But Tea Party, Gordon Dahlquist, Erin Merritt. But if they just search for Tea Party then they don't want to go to some random tea party that someone's charging tickets for. Maybe that would be a thing.
A tea party.
I don't know. But the play is literally just called Tea Party. And the production company is One of Our Own Theater, which was formed because we are putting this show on for One of Our Own.
That's great that she used the equity. What is it called?
It's called the Equity Member Code.
Yes.
MPC, Membership Production Code. That's what it's called, Membership Production Code or Member Production Code.
And that allows, it
allows equity actors to basically sign on as the producers of a piece. It's a one-time thing. You don't do it for any established theater company because that would be abusing that. Because, one of the deals with equity is we need to be, like everyone should be, frankly, paid at least minimum wage to put in our time and do our work. But every once in a while, you have a project that needs doing. And so for something like that, well, okay, do you want to produce it? Great. Then you produce it, which means you don't have the same rules restricting you in terms of being an employee, because you are actually one of the producers. But it also gives us more power and say in how things go, because we are part of the production team. And so, every member, there are several equity members on the show, and everybody is part of the team putting it together. But mostly we're just doing our job as actors, which is really nice to be able to do. Other people are doing the grunt work that we don't want to do.
Well, it's great that the union has, has emphasized that over the last 10 years or so.
Yeah, because they've had to change some of the rules around, because they were recognizing that there were a lot of established theater companies, especially in LA, who were using basically what looked like waivers to say, oh, yeah, equity actors come and be in our show. But they would do it year after year and spend millions on building a new theater and not pay their actors anything. But the actors were saying, oh, it's fine. I want to do it. It's fine. I want to do it.
That's the problem with actors.
Right. We'll say, we'll do it. But what was happening is they actually became illegal because you can't work for less than minimum wage if you are an employee of something. And so they had to get rid of those codes that were allowing for that. And this is a slight variation on that same code, but it allows for it to happen like once in a while.
Yeah, it's a one-off thing. You can't establish a theater company off of it.
Right. If One of Our Own Theater became a company, we can no longer use it.
Yes. Yeah. It's a one-time deal. Yeah. Great.
But it does. It allows for a community event to occur, which is what this is.
Well, now with the union, we have the open access made permanent.
Anybody can join. Yeah.
They made it permanent. I thought that was kind of weird.
Yeah, I don't have strong opinions about it because I can see both sides of it. But for the listeners, what that means is it used to be you had to go through a process to join the union, either earn weeks at a union house, working on shows as a non-union actor enough to qualify, or you had to join by being offered it was a whole process. And now it's like, if you can prove that you're an actor, you can pay us a few $1,000s and join the union. Boom. And now you can't work unless you're in a union show. Boom.
I mean, the issue I have with them making it permanent is anytime you make anything permanent, you're not accounting for the fact that the environment can change again. So like what it reminded me of is when SAG made it permanent that the cable companies don't have to pay residuals.
Oh, yeah. That's a terrible permanent.
Yeah.
choice.
And so I'm like, okay, there was another permanent that didn't work. Why? I just don't understand why you would make anything
right. Couldn't
permanent.
you sunset it? Couldn't you have it be, okay, let's renew it for 2 more years.
Exactly.
That's revisit it. Renew it for 2 more years and revisit it.
Yeah, that's what I just didn't understand, and I still don't understand. But I don't have any say in any of it.
No, you kind of do.
I kind of could just voice my opinion. But,
right.
You know.
You could somehow get elected to one of the, you could be
okay.
A delegate. That's a lot of work.
Oh my God.
I'm so glad people want to do that.
What a labor of love that is.
What a labor of love.
Yeah, the people who become officials in our union. So anyway, it's really great talking to you.
Thank you.
I'm really looking forward to seeing this show. It sounds like...
Yeah. March 2nd through the 19th. It's only 3 weeks, just 3 weeks. That's it. 4 shows, 12 total performances. It's not that many.
Thursday through Sunday. Is that what it is?
Thursday through Sunday. Sundays are a matinee. I think they're at 3, but I'm not sure.
San Francisco at the Strand Theater
on Market Street.
On Market.
Yep.
Market Street.
And just go to, the best thing to do is just find it on Eventbrite, but you can also find the event on Facebook. You can also go to Erin Merritt's website that has erinmerritt.com.
Yeah, I'll put the links in the notes. And
Merritt with 2 R's, 2 T's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have all the press release stuff. So
great. Well, we hope you make it out there. Let me know when you're coming.
Yeah, I'm probably going to come opening. I think it'd be fun. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be, I think the people are going to turn out for this one because, we've all been hearing about it. We're excited about it. People are excited to see the show. And so I'm hoping we get a lot of good turnout on this one.
And also I'm really excited that Erin, felt the need and did this, given her situation. I mean, what gusto she has. I mean, it's
absolutely, it's inspiring, and there's no tragedy story running in the background. It's just like, let's just do this.
It's wonderful. And then the way you're telling me that she's directing, I think it's just incredible.
Yeah. It's its own separate story.
Yeah.
And to be honest, there is a documentary being made about the process. So hopefully that'll turn into something.
I can't wait to see that.
Yeah. It's all very exciting, and I'm having a blast. So I hope we get to see you out there. If you do come and you want to make sure you're seeing, like I said, Ryan will be doing a few of the performances. So if you're coming to see me specifically, just make sure, reach out, look.
Well, you'll be there on opening, right?
I will definitely be there on opening.
Like the first weekend, or are you going to?
Weekend.
Okay.
All through the first opening weekend, I will definitely be performing in every show.
All right.
After that, it's a little different, but not a ton, but just a few. So, because also you should go see Ryan. If you're not going to see me, go see Ryan. Find out when he's performing.
Maybe I'll go see you both times.
Right. Yeah. Why not come twice?
There you go. Everybody.
Everybody.
Thanks, Cassidy. Great talking to you.
Thanks, Ray. Have a great one.
Well, that was Cassidy Brown. I always enjoy speaking with people I've known in the Bay Area for so many years who've contributed so much to our wonderful theater community here, and Cassidy is one of them without a doubt. So go see his play, Tea Party. Runs for 3 weekends, Thursday through Sunday, starting this Thursday. And that's March 2nd for 3 weekends at the Strand Theater in San Francisco. Thanks so much for listening today, folks. If you enjoyed this podcast, I would really appreciate it if you could go to Apple Podcast or Spotify and give a fair rating of 5 stars. And also, if you have any friends who enjoy listening to podcasts or who you would like to introduce to podcasts, please spread the word about this podcast. The more people I have listening, the more content I can produce, and the more we can expand into different areas. So I really appreciate all of your support and your listens, and all of you out there who are my regular listeners. I love you, and I love all you new listeners too. You're the best. If you have any information you'd like to send me or any questions, just send an email to rayrenati@gmail.com, RayRenati@gmail.com. All right, thanks so much. And until next time, I will see you on the boards. Have a great day, everybody. Peace.